The timing is strange. Like, you normally don't make a move December 17th.
World number one and his coach have split up.
In January, Carlos Alcaraz beat Novak Djokovic to win the Australian Open. He held off Jannik Sinner across a 16-match winning streak. He completed the career Grand Slam at 22, the youngest man in the history of tennis to do it. He started 2026 undefeated, untouchable, the hottest player on the planet, and he did all of it without the coach who built him. If you want the real story of how it all came apart and what Ferrero couldn't hide while it happened, subscribe right now, because this is the version nobody else is telling. But first, drop it in the comments. Was splitting with Ferrero the best decision of Alcaraz's career, or the worst? One word: best or worst? Because 6 months later, the man who made history is losing everything. Watch how fast it turned. April 14th, Barcelona. A routine return against Otto Virtanen, and the wrist gives way. Within weeks, the cascade reverses on him completely. Madrid, gone. Rome, gone. Roland Garros, the title he'd won back-to-back, the three-peat he was chasing, gone. Queens, gone. Wimbledon, where he was defending finalist, gone. Up to 3,000 ranking points wiped off the board. Sinner stacking titles unopposed. The untouchable start of 2026 erased, tournament by tournament, while Carlos sits at home and watches. And here's the part nobody's connecting. The one man watching it all the closest isn't a pundit. It isn't a rival. It's Juan Carlos Ferrero, the coach who spent 7 years building the player now coming apart on the outside. The man who walked away in December, who said he needed distance, who unfollowed Carlos on social media to get it, and who, across these 6 months, has proven again and again that he cannot look away, cannot stay silent, cannot hide what watching this is doing to him. Two men, one historic season collapsing, and neither of them able to pretend it isn't happening. That's the story. The player losing the year he made history, and the coach who can't stop watching it slip. Start with how good January actually was, because you can't understand the fall without feeling the hype. Carlos Alcaraz opened 2026 on a 16-match winning streak. He won the Australian Open, beating Novak Djokovic, a 24-time Grand Slam champion, in the final. With that title, he completed the career Grand Slam. All 4 majors, won before his 23rd birthday, the youngest man in the history of the sport to do it. Federer never did it that young, Nadal didn't, Djokovic didn't, Alcaraz did, and he did it weeks after splitting from Juan Carlos Ferrero, the coach who'd built him from a 16-year-old. That timing mattered. It looked, for a few glorious weeks, like proof that Carlos didn't need him. Like the student had outgrown the teacher and walked straight into history without him. That's the version of Alcaraz the world saw in January. Untouchable, free, making history on his own terms. Then April 14th happened, Barcelona Open, first round, a return against Otto Virtanen. The kind of shot Alcaraz has hit 10,000 times, and his right wrist gave way. He won the match, withdrew the next day. And the diagnosis, tendinosynovitis, an inflammation of the tendon sheath, turned out to be more serious than anyone first admitted. That single moment is the hinge the entire year swings on. Everything before it was ascension. Everything after it has been loss. And the losses stacked up fast. Alexander Zverev won his first Grand Slam in the vacuum. Sinner stacked titles unopposed and pulled clear at the top. The ranking gap that Alcaraz had built in January started bleeding out, week after week, while he sat in Murcia and watched his historic season dismantle itself without him on court to defend a single point. Now here's where it stops being only about Alcaraz, because someone has been watching this collapse more closely than anyone, and failing, visibly, to hide how much it's affecting him. Juan Carlos Ferrero said in December, days after the split, that he was hurting. His words to Clay, "Right now, I'm hurting. These relationships are hard to walk away from overnight. There has to be a period of mourning. And above all, I imagine it will hurt when I see him playing in tournaments. That's when all the shared experiences come back." He told the world he needed distance. He unfollowed Carlos on Instagram to create it. He talked about mourning, about healing, about needing time before he could even look at his former player competing. And then he proved he couldn't do any of it. In April, as the injury news broke, fans noticed something. Ferrero, who had unfollowed Alcaraz for distance, was engaging with social media posts about Carlos possibly missing Roland Garros, liking content about the injury. Following every update, the backlash was immediate and brutal. One fan wrote, "Unfollowed him for distance but follows every news." Another, "This dude is still in denial about the layoff to this day." The reaction was harsh, some of it unfair, but it captured something real. A man who said he needed to look away couldn't stop looking. Every piece of news about Carlos's decline pulled him back in. Then came June, and Ferrero couldn't stay quiet either. After an interview with Corriere della Sera circulated, the one where his comments about Alcaraz's lifestyle and the yacht got picked up, Ferrero issued a public statement refuting how his words had been framed. "Don't believe everything you read, verify the information." A man trying to exit the story cleanly, forced to clarify, forced back into it, forced to keep explaining himself months after he supposedly walked away. Every attempt at distance generated more attachment. Every clarification kept his name welded to Carlos's. He couldn't detach. The record shows it over and over, and here's what Ferrero sees that the average fan doesn't. He spent 7 years building the exact structure designed to prevent a collapse like this. The scheduling discipline, the physical management, the careful calibration of when Carlos played and when he rested. Greg Rusedski said it directly on his podcast. Alcaraz might be missing the ex-player who's gotten to number one, who has won in Paris, who understands the rigors, the demands of being a Spanish world number one. Rusedski even argued Alcaraz made scheduling mistakes on clay, the kind of mistakes a coach like Ferrero existed to prevent. Ferrero can't say, "This might not have happened on my watch." It would be cruel and unprovable and beneath him. But he can't hide that he's watching an injury unfold inside the structure he used to control. That's the quiet agony underneath every liked post and every clarifying statement. Now the honest counterweight, because this story needs it badly. Losing everything is the dramatic frame, not the literal truth. Carlos Alcaraz is still world number 2. He still has the US Open in front of him. The recovery is genuinely positive. David Ferrer said it's going well, there's no surgery on the table, and Alcaraz has been training brace-free. The injury isn't Ferrero's vindication either. The overscheduling debate predates the split, and Ferrero coached Alcaraz through plenty of earlier physical breakdowns too, the forearm, the calf, the abdominal issues, and the read that Ferrero can't let go is contested. Some see grief, some see a man chasing relevance. The fans calling him a snake for engaging with the news aren't a neutral source. Most importantly, Carlos made his January history precisely without Ferrero, which complicates any clean narrative that he's lost without him. But strip away the interpretation, and the bare facts still land hard. The man who made history in January is watching his season disappear. And the man who made him can't stop watching either. Here's the symmetry nobody's talking about. 2 men, 1 season, both losing something in 2026 they can't hide. Carlos Alcaraz is losing the year, the titles he should have defended, the points draining off the board every Monday, the untouchable aura he carried through January. And worse than any of it, the trust in a body that, until April 14th, had never truly betrayed him. The most gifted player of his generation, reduced to watching his rivals win his tournaments from a couch in Murcia. And Juan Carlos Ferrero is losing the pretense. The idea that he moved on, that the split was clean, that he could watch from a distance like any other former coach. Every liked post about Carlos's injury, every statement he was forced to issue, every interview where he admitted he was hurting, that it would ache to see Carlos play, all of it the same quiet confession. He didn't let go, he can't. The masterpiece he spent 7 years building is coming apart on the outside, and the man who built it is standing at the window, unable to look away, unable to pretend he isn't watching. That's what connects them. The player who made history in January and the coach who made that player, both staring at the same collapse, neither able to hide what it's costing them. If you want to see how this ends, whether Carlos comes back the same player, whether Ferrero ever gets the call, subscribe, because this story is nowhere near finished. And tell me in the comments, when Alcaraz steps back on court, is the first call he makes to Ferrero? Yes or no? I want to hear it. The US Open is the answer to all of it. late August. The same hard courts where Carlos first made history at 19, with Ferrero in his box. It's where we find out what's left of the player, and whether the man who couldn't stop watching finally gets pulled all the way back in. 6 months ago, he was untouchable. Now everyone's just waiting to see what comes back.